Mama died today. Or maybe yesterday. I can't be sure. The telegram from the home read, Mother deceased, funeral tomorrow, faithfully yours. It doesn't mean anything. Maybe it was yesterday. The old people's home is 80 miles from Algiers. I took the 2 o'clock bus. It was very hot. I fell asleep. I wanted to see Mama right away, but the caretaker told me I had to see the director first. I was shown to his office. He thumbed through a file and said,
Madame Marceau came to us 3 years ago. You were her sole support.
I thought he was criticizing me for something. I tried to justify myself, but he cut me off.
No need to justify yourself, my dear boy. I've read your mother's file. You weren't able to care for her properly. You earned only a modest salary, and the fact of the matter is, she was happier here.
I said, yes, sir. The director spoke again, but I wasn't really listening anymore. Then he said, I suppose you'd like to see your mother. I got up without saying anything. He stopped at the door of a small building.
I'll leave you alone now. One last thing. Your mother often expressed to her friends her desire for religious burial.
We put the cover in, but I'm supposed to unscrew the casket so you can see her. You don't want to?
No.
Well, why not?
I don't know.
I understand. She's got a tumor.
I saw she had a bandage wrapped around her head just below her eye. The caretaker told me they had to bury Mother quickly, due to how hot it gets in the plains. The caretaker then told me they lived in Paris and found it hard to forget. In Paris, they keep the vigil of the body for 3, sometimes 4 days. But here, you barely have time to get used to the idea before you start running after the hearse.
If you go too slowly, you risk getting sunstroke. But if you go too fast, you work up a sweat and catch a chill inside the church.
She was right. There was no way out.
I have to go get some chairs and some black coffee. You know your mother soon will be coming to collect the vigil soon. It's customary.
Is there a way you could turn off one of the lights? The glares coming from the white wall are making me drowsy.
No, I can't. I'm sorry. It's the way they've been wired. It is all or nothing.
I had trouble getting up because I was tired from the day before. While I was shaving, I wondered what I was going to do for the day, and I decided to go for a swim. I took a streetcar down to the beach at the harbor. Once there, I ran into Marie Cardona, a former typist in my office whom I had a thing for at the time. She did too, I think. But she left soon afterwards, and there wasn't enough time. I asked her, would you like to go for a swim? The 4 o'clock sun wasn't too hot. The water was warm with slow, gentle lapping waves. We lay there in the sand, half asleep. Once we were dressed, Marie seemed surprised I was wearing a black tie and asked if I was in mourning. I told her mother died. She wanted to know when. I said, yesterday. We went to go see a movie. I gave her a kiss, but not a good one. She came back to my place. When I woke up, Marie had gone.
We beat them.
Just then, my neighbor started to knock on my door. The word around the neighborhood is that he lives off women. When you ask what he does, he's a warehouse guard. Generally speaking, he's not very popular. But he often stops by to talk to me, because I listen to what he has to say. I find what he has to say interesting. Besides, I don't have any reason to not talk to him. His name is Raymond Siente. He's broad-shouldered and has a nose like a boxer's. He dresses very sharp. He asked me,
How's your mother?
dead, I said.
Well, it was bound to happen sooner or later. But, look, I've got some wine and some blood sausage back at my place. How about joining me?
I figured it would have saved me the trouble of having to fix dinner for myself. So I accepted. So we got ready to eat. Raymond took out a pretty dubious-looking bandage and wrapped it around his right hand. He told me he'd been in a fight with some guy who was trying to start trouble.
You see, Monsieur Merceau, it's not that I'm a bad guy. I just have a short fuse.
As we sat down to eat, Raymond told me this story.
I knew this lady. As a matter of fact, well, she was my mistress. Anyways, I was paying for a rent. 300 francs for the room, 600 for food, and a pair of stockings every now and then. That made it 1,000 francs a month. And Her Highness refused to work. She always said things were too tight, that she couldn't make out with what I was giving to her. Look, I says to her, why don't you work a couple of hours a week? It would only have to be part-time. I said, I've been good to you, and this is how you repay me? But she wouldn't work. It's when I realized she was cheating on me. One day, I found a lottery ticket in her purse, and she wouldn't tell me where she'd gotten the money to pay for it. A few days later, I found a ticket from a pawn shop, proving she had pawned 2 bracelets. I didn't give her those bracelets. I hadn't even seen them till then. So we gave her those bracelets. It was clear it was somebody else. So I left her. First, I smacked her around a little. Then I told her exactly what I thought of her. That all she wanted was getting into the sack. You see this, you know, so it's like I told her. You don't realize everybody's just jealous of how good you have it with me. Someday you'll realize just how good it was. I beat her till she bled. I'd never beaten her before. I mean, I smacked her around, but nice like, you know? This time, it's for real. And if you ask me, she still hasn't got what she has coming.
See, this is what he needed advice about. What bothered him was that he still had sexual feelings for her. But he wanted to punish her. He was going to think about it. First, he wanted to ask me something. Before he did, though, he wanted to know what I thought of the whole thing. I said I didn't think anything, but it was interesting. He asked if I thought she was cheating on him, and it seemed to me she was. If I thought she should be punished, and what I would do in his place, I said, you can never be sure. He wanted to write her a letter, one with a punch, and also some things in to make her sorry for what she's done. Then when she came running back to him, he'd go to bed with her, and right at the last minute, he spit in her face. But Raymond told me he didn't think he could write that kind of letter. He thought of asking me to write for him. Since I didn't say anything, he asked if I would write it right now. I said yes.
I knew you had a knowledge on these things. Now you're a pal, Marceau.
Raymond stopped by later in the week. He told me he sent the letter. Yesterday was Saturday. Marie came over as we planned. Told her we would have lunch. She asked me if I loved her. I told her I didn't think so. She looked sad.
You do this to me. After all I've done for you. This is how you repay me? You used me. You used me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm never going to talk to you. Get out. I'm never going to see you ever again. I hate you. I gave you my love. You did nothing but a This is your punishment. This is when you get the feeling of me.
Marie left around 1 o'clock. Around 3 o'clock, there was a knock at my door, and Raymond came in. He didn't say anything for a minute. I asked how it all went. He told me he did what he wanted to do, but she slapped him, so he'd beaten her up. I'd seen the rest. It seemed to me she'd gotten her punishment. I told Raymond he ought to be happy. He told me I have to act as a witness. It didn't matter to me. I just didn't know what to say. According to Raymond, all I had to do was state that the girl had cheated on him. I agreed to act as a witness. Then Raymond told me a friend of his, whom he'd spoken to me about, invited me and Marie to spend next Sunday in his beach house near Algiers. Early on Sunday morning, Marie came over and asked me if I wanted to marry her. I said it didn't mean anything, and I would if she wanted to. Then she asked me if I loved her. I said the same thing I did last time. That didn't mean anything, but I probably didn't love her.
So why marry me then?
I explained to her that it didn't matter, and if she wanted to, we could get married. Then she pointed out marriage was a serious thing, and I said, no. Then she wanted to know if I would have accepted the same proposal from the same woman in the same situation. I said, sure. Then she wondered if she loved me. And there was no way I could know about that. She mumbled I was peculiar, and that was probably why she loved me. But that one day, I might hate her for the same reason. The day before, Raymond and I had gone to the police station, and I testified that the woman had cheated on me. Marie, Raymond, and I left early Sunday morning to the beach. We got off in the outskirts of Algiers. The bus stop wasn't far from the beach. Raymond's friend lived in a little wooden bungalow at the far end of the beach. Raymond told me the reason we were there was that his mistress was an Arab, that she saw us get on the bus, and that her brother was after her. Marie wanted to go for a swim, but Raymond didn't want to come. So me and Marie went down to the beach. She jumped in right away. I did it. I was absorbed by the feeling that the sun was doing me a lot of good. The sand started to get hot underfoot. I held the urge to get in the water a minute longer. Finally, Marie said,
"Come into the water."
I hadn't kissed her since that morning, but yet I wanted to. When we got back to the beach, I lay my stomach across the sand. And Marie, she lay right next to me. And the combined warmth from her body and the sun made me doze off.
After lunch, Marie took a nap. I think she had a little too much to drink. Raymond and I walked down to the beach. I was half asleep from the sun beating down on my bare head. Raymond said something to me I didn't quite catch, but at the same time I noticed, at the far end of the beach, and a long way from us, two Arabs in blue overalls coming in our direction.
It's him. He's got a knife. can't shoot.
The heat was intense. That was just as bad as standing still in the blinding stream falling from the sky. There was the same dazzling red glare. It was the same sun, the same light still shining on the same sand as before. The sun was starting to burn my cheeks, and I could feel drops of sweat gathering in my eyebrows. My forehead was especially hurting me, all the veins in it throbbing under the skin. It was this burning, which I couldn't stand anymore, that made me move forward. I knew that was stupid, that I wouldn't get the sun off me by stepping forward, but I took one step forward, and this time, without getting up.
There are some things in my life I never liked talking about. A few days after I entered prison, I realized I wouldn't like talking about this part of my life. But I can honestly say, that time from summer to summer went by very quickly. My case was set down for the last session of the court, and that session was due to end sometime in June. They came for me at 7:30 in the morning. They took me to the courthouse in the prison van. The policeman took me into a room that smelled like darkness. Some crowd.
You know that they blown up your case a little.
Who?
Press. The summer is the slow season for the news. Yours was the only one worth bothering about.
Shall we begin? And now the court will touch upon matters which initially appear unimportant, but bear most important to the matter at hand. It says here, Monsieur Rousseau, that on June 10th, 1936, you put your mother in the house of the aged.
Yes.
But why?
I simply didn't have the money to have her cared for.
Has it been hard on you?
Mother and I didn't expect anything from each other anymore, or anyone else for that matter. We both had grown accustomed to our new lives.
I no longer want to dwell on this point. Does the prosecutor have anything to say?
Monsieur Rousseau, with the court's permission, I would like to know whether you have gone back to the spring by yourself, intending to kill the Arab.
No.
Then why were you armed, and why did you return precisely to that spot?
It was by chance.
That will be all, for now.
It is getting late. We'll hear from the witnesses after lunch. Court adjourned. What was your relationship with the defendant?
I was the director of the home where his mama stayed.
Did the defendant's mama ever complain about him?
Yes, but most of our residents complained about their relatives.
Did she resent the fact for being sent to your institution?
Yes.
How would you describe the defendant was on the day of his mother's funeral?
I was surprised. The defendant seemed very calm on the day of the funeral.
What do you mean by calm?
That he didn't want to see his mother, and that he hadn't cried once. And he left right after the funeral without paying any last respects at her grave.
Will the caretaker come up next?
He said he wouldn't see the body. He also smoked a cigarette drank some coffee, and even slept some.
Did the defendant offer you a cigarette?
I know it was wrong to do, but I couldn't refuse when he offered me a cigarette.
Does the defendant have anything to add?
No, except that was true. I did offer him a cigarette.
If it makes a difference, I did offer Mr. Rousseau the coffee. Hopefully the jury would take note of that.
Indeed, the judgment of the jury will take note of that fact, and they will conclude that the stranger may offer a cup of coffee, but being beside the body of the one who brought him into the world, a son should have refused it.
How long have you known Monsieur Rousseau?
I have known Mr. Rousseau since the time we worked together in our office.
What was your relationship with the defendant?
I was his girlfriend. We were supposed to get married.
I would like to ask, when exactly did this liaison begin?
It was the first Saturday of July last year.
You mean the day after the funeral of Madame Rousseau? I do not wish to dwell on such delicate matters, and I have respect for all of Mademoiselle's feelings, but it is my duty bound to go beyond propriety.
I usually spend my Saturdays at the beach. I spotted him walking along the pier, and I spent about an hour or so swimming with him. And then afterwards we went to the movies, and then I went back to his place.
And what kind of film did you go see that day?
A comedy film.
Gentlemen of the jury, the day after his mother's death, this man was out swimming, starting up a dubious liaison, and went to the movies, a comedy, for laughs. I have nothing further to say.
It wasn't like that. You have it all wrong. There's more to it than just that. You're twisting my words and you're using them against me. I know Monsieur Rousseau and I love him. He hasn't done anything wrong.
Your Honor, I would just like to say that this man is innocent.
I advise you, sir, to calm down. You are here being asked not for judgments, but facts. I suggest you wait for the question before responding. Now, would you please state what your relation with the victim was?
The victim had hated me ever since I beat his sister.
Nevertheless, did the victim have a reason to hate Monsieur Rousseau?
No. Rousseau's being at the beach was by chance.
Then please explain, Monsieur Sente, that the letter that set the whole drama in motion was written by the defendant?
It was by chance?
It seems as though chance has already had a lot of misdeeds on its conscience in this case. I want to know if it was by chance the defendant didn't intervene when you beat up your girlfriend. Was it chance that he then acted as a witness to the police station? And again by chance that my statements on the occasion have proved to be so convenient? Monsieur Sente, will you tell the court your current state of employment?
I'm a warehouse worker.
Gentlemen of the jury, it is common knowledge that the witness practices the profession of the procurer of women. The defendant was his friend and accomplice. The basis of the crime were there, and the fact of the matter is, we are dealing with a monster.
Let the prosecutor finish.
One last thing. Was he your friend?
Yes. We were pals.
And you, Rousseau? Were you friends?
Yes.
I have looked deep into this man's soul, and I have seen the gaping void within it to reveal, gentlemen of the jury, this man has no soul. No doubt we cannot accuse him of something he is morally incapable of doing, but here in the court, we must submit to the general demands of the noble ideal, that is justice. A man who faces you in the dark, who embodies all of his evils with no remorse, must be removed from the world that he can only corrupt. This man who is morally guilty of his mother's death, should not dwell in a society that has been so generous to let him wander. Therefore, gentlemen of the jury, I say we impose the death penalty on him. That is all.
have you anything to say?
I didn't mean to kill the Arab.
Well, I am at a loss then. Why is it that you shot him? What was the reason for your act?
It was the sun.
People of France, this court, after partial deliberation of this case, find the accused guilty of his charge, and, in accordance with the prescription of the law, finds Monsieur Mousseau will be decapitated in full view of the public.
For the third time, I refused to see the chaplain. It occurred to me. It didn't matter if you died at 20 or at 70. But once you did, it didn't matter how or once you died. Whenever I talk myself into believing that, I'm at peace for a while.
Why have you refused to see me?
I don't believe in God.
Are you sure?
I don't see any reason to ask myself that question.
Sometimes we think we are sure when, in fact, we are not. What do you think?
It is possible.
Then God can help you. Every man I have known in your position has turned to him.
That was their right, and they had their time. I don't want anybody's help, nor to waste my time to interest myself in something that doesn't interest me.
Have you no hope at all? And do you really live with the thought that when you die, you did and nothing remains?
Yes.
You are wrong, my son. More can be asked of you, and it may be asked.
And what's that?
You could be asked to see.
See what?
Every stone here swears with suffering. I know that. I have never looked at them without a feeling of anguish. But deep down in my heart, I know that even the most wretched among you have seen the divine face emerge from their darkness. That is the face that you are asked to see.
I've been looking at the stones in these walls for months. There wasn't anything, anybody I knew better. Maybe at one time, way back, I had searched for a face in them. But the face I was looking for was as bright as the sun and the flame of desire. And it belonged to Marie. Now, it was all over. Besides, I've never seen anything emerge from sweating stones.
Do you really love this earth as much as all that? No. I refuse to believe you. I know that at one time or another you've wished for another life.
Of course I have. But it meant nothing more than wishing to be rich, to swim faster, to have a nicely shaped mouth. It was all the same.
I want to know how you picture this other life.
One where I can remember this life.
I'd like to talk to you about God.
Monsieur, I have little time left. Do you not wish to waste it on God?
Why do you call me Monsieur? Call me Father.
You aren't my father. You aren't even on my side.
Yes, my son. I am on your side. But you have no way of knowing because your heart is too blind to see. I shall pray for you.
Pray for me. Pray for me. Do not waste your prayers on me. You seem so certain of everything, and yet not one of your certainties are worth the hair of a woman's head. How can you be sure you're alive when you're living the life of a dead man? You make it seem I've come up empty-headed, but I was sure of myself, sure of everything, sure of my life and sure of the death I have waiting for me. Yes, that's all I have. Or at least I have much hold on as it has on me. I was right. I am still right. I had always been right. I had lived my life one way, I could just as well live it another. I had done this and I had done that, and so? What did your God or mother's love matter to me? What did others people's death, or the lives they live, or the fate they've elected by matter to me, when we are all elected by the same fate? Me, and billions of other privileged people like you who call themselves my brother. Can't you see that? Can't you see that? Everybody was privileged. There were only privileged people. The rest would be condemned, and you as well. What would it matter if you were accused of murder and then executed because you didn't cry at your mother's funeral? What did it matter that Raymond was a good friend of mine? What did it matter that Marie now offered her lips to a newborn soul? Can you see that? Can you see that? Can that man see? For the first time in a long time, I thought about Mama. Even there in that home, her life fading out, she felt free and ready to live it all again. And I felt ready to live it all again. As if that blind rage should wash me clean, rid me of hope. For the first time, I felt the gentle indifference of the world. I mean, so much like myself. So much like a brother. Really. I felt I'd been happy. And then I felt happy again. For everything to be consummated all at once. For me to feel less alone. I'd only hoped there'd be a large crowd on the day of my execution. And that they greet me with cries of hate.
So why don't we do that first, all right? And then we'll try to get this talk back started, make you think about a couple things. Actually, you know what? Why don't I start with that so they can think about that as we go through the list. Okay, so first of all, if you've never been to a talk back before, sometimes you feel a little uncomfortable, right? You're not sure what to ask and things like that. So allow me just to plan a couple things in your head that might spark some questions. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll just kind of go with what happens, okay? And Miss Amanda here, our stage manager, is going to give me a 5-minute when we're at 10 minutes, and then we'll wrap this up in about 15 minutes, okay? So just some things to think about. Rousseau, as a character, it's a very hated character in literature. Maybe I should not say hated, maybe I should say controversial. People are very, they feel certain ways about that guy. Was it really the son that made him shoot someone and kill someone? And maybe even Raymond and his friendship with that. Well, where is that? Where is that really going? So perhaps we're going to ask the actors some questions about that, and maybe even Marie, her relationship, the old people when they come to visit the body and how he reacts, the Arabs. I mean, there's all kinds of things you could ask there about Mercedes' character. Another question just to throw out, classic literature is always in our society, with strangers taught here at CD. What makes this story so alive and so worth retelling, and especially in this dramatic fashion? So maybe just something to kind of roll around your head. So I'm going to shut up for a couple minutes. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Actors and technicians, why don't you tell them your name, how old you are, or what grade you're in, and what you did for our production. All right, so we want to start in the front tonight, and then wrap around, so go for it. Yep.
My name's Evan Parents. I'm in 10th grade, and I was the rights.
He was up there in every
Very
poem.
My name is Harrison Krebs. I'm in 10th grade. I helped Ian adapt it. I was a sound designer and I read the sound.
I'm Ian Getz. I'm in 12th grade. I adapted the play, directed it, and I played Marcel.
I'm Ellen. I'm a senior, and I played Marie Cordova.
I'm Andrew Davis. I'm a senior, and I played Raymond Sinclair.
I'm Allie Laverca. I'm a senior and I play the nurse and I've also did I'm Maddie Farrell. I'm a senior and I was the old person and I was also the voiceover of the mistress.
My name is Thomas St. Hilaire. I'm in 11th grade. I played an Arab and I played the chaplain.
I'm Chandler Borman. I'm in 11th grade. I played the police officer and the older man who attended the funeral.
I'm Andrew Brenneman. I'm in 9th grade and I played the caretaker.
I'm Joseph. I played the director, and I am a freshman.
I'm Paul St. Hilaire. I'm in 9th grade, and I played the Arab.
I'm Amanda. I'm in 10th grade and I'm the
Great. All right, so let's open it up to the house now. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything for these folks in particular? Go for it. Front row. Ashwara.
Okay, so this is like a 3/4 thrust, right? Okay.
Now it was tonight. We didn't have any audience over here. Nobody was brave enough to sit behind the coffin, I guess. Technically, this is a theater in the round. It's just that no one sat there this evening.
Okay. Why did you choose this type of
Oh, cool. It's the pools of light add into that, and I look at it as a very surreal story, and it's told. I wanted to tell it in like a limbo state because Rousseau dies at the end, and I feel that the best way to adapt it and also keep true to its form would make it like it's blobs of memories. So when the lights fade up, it's actually just kind of like how you remember something in your head. Like if you ever just have that like memory, it just fades up and it's there, and like it's gone now. So I feel it's kind of a reflection on him after he dies in this limbo state of what's going on, but like you don't really know. So, you really just get the sense of the story when it's just told in such an obscure way, because it's an absurd play, so why not present it in an absurd way?
In the back.
Can you define absurd for us?
Okay, absurdism, and then there's existentialism, and even I don't know the difference. Existentialism is the view that the world revolves around you. And absurdism, the best way I've learned to define it is just the opening line of the book. Mama died today or maybe yesterday. I can't be sure. Absurdism is kind of hard for me to explain, but pretty much just think of a person's like that, it's absurd. It's the belief of absurdism.
I actually have two questions. First one, like I know in the director's notes you said that like you really like this book. What inspired you to turn it into this play?
Well, Mrs. Burke brought up to me the idea before the summer that her husband always liked the book and I was expressing a passion for it. And we were going to do another play, but then some falling outs happened. So then I just remember the idea because it was constantly going through my head like, oh man, I wish we could do The Strangers. We already went to this. And then I saw the opportunity, so I took it. And just the way, I want the message to be told to everybody because I think it's such a great message and such a great novel, and like the character himself and the philosophy behind it and the political statements it makes. And the way it's told, we were looking at a one-man show, and this could easily be turned into a one-man show, and then we're like, it could easily be turned into a full show.
And then my second question was, what inspired you? Like, how did you get into character? And I guess that could be a question for like everyone, but
Shift out all emotion. And believe it. I get mad when people don't like that you believe that. People feel that way.
Any of the other characters want to comment on how you, or actors, how you got into character? Anything that inspired you? Any of the actors?
I'll give a little secret. He said what he made you guys listen to some tapes and stuff from other things to inspire something in the movie.
Oh yeah, when we were doing the recording for the beating scene, which is an intense scene itself to record. Me and Ian sat there for a while, and I was struggling through it, and Ian showed me some videos of actual beatings, which...
Well, not as actual videos, it was
Oh,
audio.
it's audio.
I thought I would have to step in there. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's still pretty grotesque to listen to, and that kind of helped me get into the character, to get angry and know what I'm supposed to say and how I'm supposed to say it.
You said like you never felt that angry before, right?
That angry, yeah, it's not easy to feel.
And I did the same because I was the mistress and I had to act like I was being beaten, which is very hard because I've never done that before. Yeah, it was a very odd process. You know, listening to somebody being beaten is not a happy experience.
I made you even listen to it, right?
Yeah, I had no idea really how to react because I've never been in that kind of situation. So Ian showed me the recording one day and it was appalling to listen to. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, but I mean, it helped me react on stage, so it was good.
Any other characters want to, actors, I keep calling you characters. Actors want to, you are characters. Actors want to comment on that? Anything else? Okay, all right, great, moving on.
You talk like in a very monotone, very like dull voice. Like, is there any other adaptation that you've watched, or like videos you've watched of the same thing or similar thing?
Of monotone?
Yeah. No. I'm talking about like The Stranger. Like, is there any other
Well,
video you've watched of this something?
the only other medium I could find it in was there's a 1967, and it's very hard to find. Thank God for the end. Or whatever it is. But there's a 1967 movie of it, which I looked at how they presented it because we had to look at how they, like what scenes are important. And they kept more scenes than we did because they didn't have like a half-hour time slot. So watching it there, like you get the different, you get how they incorporate the characters and not just the book. So we took a lot from that, but also made our own and a lot from the book too.
Yeah, because like I was thinking like the movie American Beauty that you showed me a while back, like it was kind of like that when like the narrator spoke. And did you get inspired by that, or like why did you choose monotone as like something like this?
Well, like, you could easily do the character of Marcel very sarcastic, but it can easily be presented in such like, the way it's written is such a thin line that you can just easily say like, Mama died today, or maybe yesterday, I can't be sure. Like, she wanted a religious burial, I don't know, that's what I mean. But that's how we looked at it too. But we didn't, like, we looked at it so many different ways because Rousseau is such a weird character. And like, the best way to get across is the words. And the fact that he really doesn't care. And somebody who doesn't care usually just speaks in a monotone voice. And like, we really just, the main thing we want to emphasize is the words, so. We want Rousseau to stick out, so we want other characters to be more on stage than Rousseau, so that we can really just get over the character.
Back row.
He seems very sad. Is he sad? He seems like he does not.
I think a lot of, I feel like that can be, towards the end he's very sad. I mean, it says in the book during the courtroom scene, it's his form of being sad. Like, he never says, like, I felt sad. He said, I felt that I needed to cry when the courtroom He just feels the hate. So he's not really sad with his life. He's very, I wouldn't say happy. He's just like, this is my life, that's how I live it. And that's how he acts the whole thing. And the fact that he just doesn't care is just him. But the fact that other people are saying he can't live his life that way is what starts to really make him get emotional, because society's saying that's not the way he should act. And that's what ultimately leads to his death.
My question for you then, this is something you said. When the voice of the judge came on, it's your voice. Was that the prosecutor? Was that the, like, making judgment on
Yes,
itself? That was supposed to be
that's we wanted to get across that the prosecutor is the one that's like the most harping on, and the one that's like, this is not how society lives. So by me voicing it over, we wanted to get like that, like society's judging him, and also we're serves now like thinking, is this how I should live my life? Is this right? Is this...
Let's jump back over here, Jonathan.
Some of the narration you had recorded, how did you decide like which ones you actually said?
The ones I didn't feel like memorizing. With the beach scene, we did want to record because we want that you didn't like focused on that. I didn't want to have to like take away like me talking. We wanted like everybody to just hear what's going on, be able to focus on the gun, and for me to be able to focus on what's going on in the scene, because that's the most important. Same goes for writing the letter, just because it's easy to write the letter too.
Okay, so this is probably going to be a different question than you've ever gotten. It's actually for Allie. About what did you personally think that the meaning of your character was? Because I was intrigued by it, and I'm assuming the book might give a little more in-depth detail because you just kind of came on stage and walked off. But what is the meaning of the nurse, and what is your interpretation of her character?
Well, I can't give you the meaning because I don't know. That's going to go over to Ian. But I will come back to the interpretation after you.
I'd like to hear your interpretation first before, like because I just think it's cooler, like because I don't want to like make you change your mind at all. So I want to hear your interpretation.
Well, I didn't have any idea what I was getting into when I said I'd help with this. So, I just kind of thought, okay, the nurse is there. She's there, but at the same time, she's going to talk about how things are a lot different here than they are in Paris, so she really just is a supplemental character. I didn't really think she brought anything to the story besides this.
Okay, so don't be offended by the word. It's actually a term that's used in literature. It's called the magical medium. It's the term. And the best way to explain it is like, you know that like old lady that sits on top of a hill and tells, like, you know in the movie Holes, or like the book Holes, the lady that's like, fetch a pig to water. Madame Zeroni. It's like that kind of character that like, what she says, if you go too fast, what's your line?
If you go too slowly, you risk getting sunstroke. But if you go too fast, you work up a sweat, you catch a chill inside the tree.
Which is like really just and Rousseau's response, like, she was right, there was no way out. Pretty much she's saying, you're going to die. And if you if you go too fast in life, you're going to die sooner. But if you go too slowly, you're going to die anyway. So like, there's no escaping it. And that's foreshadowing Rousseau's death and everything that happens in the book, including the sunstroke. Now in the book, we cut out one of the characters who is like a foil of Rousseau, which is like the mom's boyfriend, who is a very old person, and he's like they're carrying the casket, he's trying to get there, and he keeps on getting late, and he's like getting sunstroke. And that's where the line was more relatable, but we thought seeing as the vigil, you keep the vigil over some heat, so we thought that was a way to get in there. But it's mainly just a way of foreshadowing the whole novel itself and the meaning behind it.
Time for one more. Time for one more. As I was going to say, I saw her in the back row. Go ahead.
I thought that, well, I know that he was probably his counselor's collection, and I wonder, what was your
don't think acting is my strong. I think the best part, my favorite part of the whole thing was the light setup. I just found so much, the adaptation and being, like it's a combination between writing and directing, and being able to take, you're allowed to take the novel you love, and then you're allowed to adapt it, and then like put it in such a way that you find that you view it as, and be able to have other people view it as. It just, like the lights was like, that just, guys, that's my favorite part, is just the lights. It just talks about, it's just so cool. And it has so much meaning, and I can't express it right now because I'm so nervous, but catch me on an off day and we'll talk.
Okay, well, when Ian presented the light idea to us, he said the pools of light, and we had the 5 pools idea. And one of the things that he kept expressing to us was that the only people that are to ever enter his pool of light are Marie and Raymond, and the cop. The cop because he has to, Marie because Merceau lets her in, and Raymond shoves himself upon Merceau almost. And so like the pool of light idea was a big deal for him. And for all of us, it really actually shows kind of Merceau's character.
It represents like how he goes along with everything. Like the scene where he eats breakfast, there's breakfast, so he's gonna eat breakfast. Then there's a soccer game that's being won, so he'll just interact with that. Then Raymond knocks on the door. Then the sun gets too hot, so he shoots an arrow. So all these what you can do, that sun. He's very just in the moment, but in a very dull way. Like I wouldn't say dull actually, but most people view it as dull, so or this way.
All right, folks, we thank you so much for coming. I just ask that you watch. There are some cameras set up. We ask that all people exit this direction because this direction is all filled with tech information. Please don't go back there. Go out this direction. And please, we have one more show, so your word of mouth is our best advertising. One more show, Saturday at 2 o'clock. And so spread the word. We got one more to go. Thanks so much for coming.
I